Welcome to Better, the podcast about doing better, being better, and leaving the world a better place than we found it. What's going on? All right, so this is Better, and this is part two of an unintended two-part series because my guest and I can't stay on topic. In fact, we couldn't even get on topic. We didn't even talk about what we meant to talk about. This is the first of Better, but the fourth installment of Jay and Chris Save the World. And I did this intro in the last episode, but we never got to it. So we started talking about Christmas and lies, and it just got out of control real quick. It's also the longest episode we've done. But the concept behind Jay and Chris Save the World is that we're proposing ideas that we feel would make the world a better place. How you doing?
Talked out. That was a lot last time, but it was great.
That was a lot, yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah, if we hadn't cut it, I think we would have been here all night talking about Christmas and lies. So let's not do that again.
No.
We're not even going to broach it. So we each picked a topic
Yes.
to talk about.
That we think would make the world a better place.
Yes, that we think, to be clear, that we think would make the world a better place. Doesn't mean that we know it'll make the world a better place. We're just trying to think of ideas that can make the world a better place. And the most obvious idea to make the world a better place is to completely collapse the whole political system and rebuild it. We're not going to touch that one because that's obvious. Everybody wants that one. So I picked universal, basic cell phone tones going off during the podcast. It's a sync phone? Oh, it's a work phone. Who's sending messages to the work phone right now?
It's silenced.
The worst.
It's silenced.
It's silenced and it still went off. Oh, man. We just have technical difficulties all the time on this podcast. I picked Universal Basic Income, also known as UBI, and I'm going to call it UBI because I don't want to say Universal Basic Income all the time. And you picked
Two-tier medical system.
I feel like mine is good and his is horrible and evil.
Cool.
But let's get into it. So I think what I'll do is I'll talk about my basic concept of how I think UBI should work.
Okay.
You talk about your basic concept for how you think that two-tier medical system should work for the better.
Okay.
And then we'll jump into we'll do yours and we'll do mine at the end.
Weird. Okay.
Is that not good?
It's whatever you want.
Okay.
You're the host.
I am the host. It's my podcast, so let's fucking do it. All right. So UBI is a controversial concept because a lot of people believe that if you give UBI out, people will be lazy, they won't do any work, and that's it, right? That's pretty much what people think UBI is. They think it's like basically welfare, but for everybody. My concept of UBI, I believe that UBI could be successful if handled properly, which it actually, there's certain things that I know people would consider very controversial, but my idea is UBI only provides for the very, very basics. So a roof over your head, but a basic roof. Extra bedroom, depending on if you have kids, that sort of thing. A bus pass, not a car, not gas, nothing like that. Food, clothing, and then $100 or $200 a month to put into investments or savings accounts. And then a little bit for extras that could be built up over time. All of that would be contained within a UBI card.
Okay.
And that UBI card is only accepted for those things. So you can't go out and buy crack with your UBI card. You can't go out and you can't get blitzed with your UBI card. It becomes probably for that kind of stuff becomes more of a barter society, but basically you use your UBI card to get your basics taken care of. And if you want that to be your life, you never have to worry about a roof. You never have to worry about food. You never have to worry about clean water, showers, any of that stuff. Then you have to agree to do 10 hours a week of not customer service. Although, community service, anything. Cleaning up the neighborhood, whatever it looks like. It's a low administered program. You get rid of welfare, you get rid of child tax credit, you get rid of all those things, and you get a little bit more if you have kids. And then there's also a little bit that goes into a savings account for the kids for when they turn 18, which I think is a cool idea.
Okay.
So that they can go to school, or they have every kid has options. Every kid can start from basically the same place. And then if you want to get a job, if you want to progress, if you want your own car, you want a nicer house, you want all these things, you go and you get a job and you wean off of UBI. But if you lose your job because your job decides, oh, you worked for us for 35 years and we don't want to have to pay you a severance, we're going to fire you for cause, and then we don't have to spend that money, you still get UBI when you leave and you're not completely screwed. So that's my concept of UBI. I'm sure there's more to it, but that's the crux of it. And that's how I feel we could do it without people taking advantage of the system, with getting their needs met, because that's what UBI would be all about. And then at the end of the day, based on the numbers I've seen, we would save money as a country, having everybody in UBI.
It sounds like a hybrid of UBI almost. Like almost a UBS, which would be Universal Basic Services. This is also another theory that a lot of people share. And
I've never actually read that one, so okay. Yeah.
So where it's, again, going to be, you get your housing paid for, you get education paid for, you get these basic services, maybe not savings, maybe not those things, like, so a hybrid kind of system.
Yeah.
Because there's some people that are like, you just get $1,200 a month, and you got to live on $1,200 a month.
Yeah.
And, like, that's what you get. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of questions on it, and again, we'll talk about it after. Is your theory?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so tell me about your two-tier medical system.
Well, there's a lot of problems with the medical system.
Yep.
If you're in a position where you could afford to get quicker service, why do you have to wait? So you have the option of paying and getting services, elective services, at a quicker pace than waiting. There's people that wait months into a year plus to get some basic things that maybe, again, aren't an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
So why not be able to pay if you could afford it? So it's not covered under our healthcare plans. However, if you could afford extra, then you get extra.
Okay. Anything else to it? Or that's the crux for now?
That's the crux of it for now.
I actually thought I was going to come in and just be like, with an axe, just hack away at this thing. But now when I think about it, for some reason, I don't know why this didn't dawn on me before, but if you have people with the means to pay for your procedures, that probably would make everything go a lot smoother for everybody.
In theory. But
In
there's
theory.
also...
Unless they clogged up the system with
Well,
all
the problem being, like... So we're going to talk about mine. Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about yours. Yeah.
So some of the cons would be, they call it brain drain. So if you're a doctor and your choice is work at a regular hospital, you're going to get paid government wages, which isn't, say, as much as private. So if you're a great doctor, you're going to go private. You're going to make more money. So now the hospitals and these other places, medical centers, might not have the same quality of doctors. So now there's a different quality of doctor working there. And then they might not even have enough people to care properly for the people that can afford anything, because everybody wants to work and they're private.
So what about
Okay.
every hospital is allocated to do a certain amount of these, they can do if they have the people that are willing to pay for them, these procedures.
Mm-hmm.
But doctors have to work within a system of both. So you've got, let's say it's 25%, or just for argument's sake, to make it easy, let's say 50-50. If you have a lot of people willing to pay for their procedures, up to 50% of your procedures can be paid for and expedited. But then the other 50% have to be for the people that can't afford them, and they get it through the system. I think that would be better than having it like be siloed out, because then you wouldn't have that brain drain, I don't feel.
Yep. I'm not sure, again, logistically. So in terms of billing, so if you couldn't afford it, you wait in the line and it gets billed to the province, hypothetically.
Mm-hmm.
If you could afford it, then it's a different line and it gets billed to your healthcare plan, or you're going to pay privately for it.
Right.
Whatever it is. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, so, but the reason why I think that it was...
center that does it?
Yeah, every hospital has to do both.
Okay.
And then the reason why I think that's beneficial for everybody is because I don't believe it's always going to be at 50% for the people that can pay.
Right.
I think it'll always be at 50% for the people that can't pay.
Right.
But that line just shifts, right? So if it's like 25%, okay, now 75%, right? And it's a service available, and it takes one person because like I have I have an aunt who just had a knee replacement surgery.
Okay.
She could have afforded to get in and get out,
Right.
but she had to wait. And she's another person clogging up the wait line. And then if something comes up like COVID, where now everything is shut down and the wait line is now getting huge, right? This way, the wait line is going to be, in theory, smaller no matter what, because you're getting people out of the way faster.
So I haven't had the pleasure of living in the States yet. You did.
Yeah.
Kind of a two-tiered system in the States where it's not free healthcare basically for everybody, but some people can get
It's
Obamacare or whatever it's been changed to now.
Yeah.
Whatever. Other people have healthcare plans that they pay for each month.
mm-hmm.
You get to access different hospitals. Like there's a whole bunch of
Yeah, there's a bunch
issues
of
with that.
yeah, like there's so some people I know in Vegas, they're subscribers to a special kind of hospital chain
Okay.
that they can go to and they can get like immediate service, and they just swipe the credit card and go kind of thing. Like they know about that. They've got that covered down there. I don't. The American healthcare system. I personally, like my personal on the surface level is that healthcare shouldn't cost money. That we've tied everything to money when we don't need to.
Right.
Because money is just a concept we came up with as a species, right? We're like, this is how we're going to figure out who gets rewarded and all these sorts of things. But there are certain things that should not be about money, like your ability to live and live a good life. That should not. I don't think that should, like, health should not come down to money. I'm trying to think of another example. Education probably shouldn't come down to money, and I think we're getting there now with the internet the way it is and everything. You know, like I took a microbiology course online and in school, and the online course was just as good.
Interesting.
And it cost me like next to nothing.
Right.
So, but yeah, the American system. The thing I don't like about it is that people die waiting, and they will kick you. Like I saw it. I had travel insurance, broke my back. I needed to be in the hospital. I had travel insurance, which allowed them to just do whatever they wanted to do, and it was good. And I saw them kicking people out that were legitimately sick.
So from what I understand, the problem being, like, even when you have travel insurance, the bill's probably $200,000 or something astronomical.
Oh, my bill was way higher.
Okay, so whatever the amount is, like,
Yeah.
let's go with $500,000.
Sure.
Right?
The first day.
The government isn't going to necessarily want to rush that person through the system. It's going to take forever. So up here, again, like, how are those people ever going to get taken care of when anyone with private insurance is going to get blown through? Because the government's going to say, well, it's not $500,000 to do that. It's going to inflate the cost now because the private system is going to drive up the prices, hypothetically.
Yeah, like they charged me $37 for a Band-Aid.
Right. Like, it makes no sense.
And I had a broken back. I didn't need a Band-Aid. So that was interesting. But the problem was I passed out in the emergency room. They found my card and realized they could do anything they wanted.
Right.
So I woke up and every test imaginable was done to me.
So if private's charging $37 for a Band-Aid, the government's going to mandate, well, you can't charge us $37 for a Band-Aid because that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to create an issue with care and the quality of services, the quality of Band-Aids, hypothetically.
My insurance was absolute.
Okay.
So I didn't know that at the time. Actually, I was very scared to go. But my insurance was absolute, so it didn't matter what I got done. It was covered, right? So I just, and yes, I'm sure there was some haggling, but I didn't have to do it.
Right.
You know, and I think it came down. I'm sure the Canadian government fought with the hospital and the American government like constantly over my bill because my bill was astronomical.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I feel like, and I couldn't have afforded that care.
Right.
I could only afford it because of the way we're set up here, right? I don't know. Like I just kind of look at their system. I think if you do this, no matter what medical system you have to state the laws of humanity ahead of anything. You cannot throw someone out of a hospital who is testing sick.
Right.
Like, should that not just be bare bones of medical care? I don't know. Like, maybe you know what? Maybe they could do is they could have the 50-50 rule or whatever in hospitals. You can have some doctor. You could say like 10 doctors. You know, you got to reapply for your license every year, and you can have a private clinic that can do all the paid stuff as well,
Right.
and that's 100% paid. That would get some people out of the medical system, which would be great. I could see that working, but you'd have to make it so that like you limit it entirely, like they did with weed licenses here, right?
Okay.
At first, they like really limited who could get one,
Right.
and then you had to reapply and you do all these things. Now they just gave it to everybody, and they completely destroyed the marketplace.
And like these doctors, like telemedicine, so who could prescribe, do over webcam. I could talk to you.
I've used them, yeah.
Okay, and in Canada, probably not as many as in the States, right? Or as common, or is it pretty close?
I don't know. I've used it a few times, and I've always used Canadian Doctor. Yeah.
So you'd think even doctors would want to do that to get way more patients in, and they must get paid a certain amount per visit, just as they would here in a clinic.
Well, you pay up front with your credit card for those.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, but that's a doctor doing it on their own time.
Okay.
Right. So they're doing outside of their duties at the hospital. So yeah, if you want to take extra effort and do some stuff, then great, as long as you're not harming anybody.
Do they have to put in a certain amount of hours at the hospital?
I believe yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm almost 100% sure that that's right. That their hospital duties come before their telehealth duties.
Hmm.
I mean, rationally speaking, I don't know for sure, but yeah, I can't imagine them allowing them to be like, yeah, you can go do your telehealth.
Was it like a nurse where, like, if you're on shift, there's mandated overtime, hypothetically.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, if you wanted to work a 0.4, you could work a 0.4 if that's the shift that you applied for and got, hypothetically, right?
Yeah, but that's all arranged in advance, right?
So if a doctor wanted to work a point something and
yeah,
pick up all these shifts as telehealth or in a private sector, hypothetically, right? But
Yeah.
it's going to drain the regular system. But again, I have the means to possibly afford better care and quicker care. I for sure would pay for it.
I have. Yeah, I you know, it was through concerted effort to get the means, but I did the stem cell treatments, right, which allowed me to walk. There's probably people that broke their backs around the same time I did. They're in wheelchairs right now, right? But you know, I guess you could call it, that's 2-tier, but that was in the States. So I would have to say that I in theory, agree with the 2-tier health system. I just think that that any health system has to think about, it has to deal with what's happening and make sure the person's healthy before they leave, no matter what.
For sure.
I you know, it's hard because the healthcare system is built like a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
Right? And like travel insurance, right? Cost millions of dollars to take care of me while I was in the States. You know, but I'd been paying into travel insurance for 20 years at that point.
Right.
So, and never used it. You know, so that's kind of their hope, is that they'll never have somebody with a catastrophe. So I'm sure I crippled the system for a couple of weeks, you know, until they had nothing happen. But
it's $1 billion system, so for sure not, right? Like,
yeah, I know. I'm not. Yeah, I didn't actually mean crippled, just kind of embellishing. But I don't know that. I'm trying to think. I mean, there would definitely be a negative to it in that. You're right. It could clog things up. You could end up with that brain drain unless you really isolate it just to the hospitals, right? With the 50-50. And telehealth. Yeah, there's a lot of different options for them nowadays. So how do you deal with the options?
I don't know. And again, the people, the have-nots, we'll call it, would sound like, I feel like everyone else that could, it's better for it. Anyone else that could not afford it, probably the theory is you'd see care quicker because, again, the system's less clogged. But again, in practice, I don't know if it could work.
Yeah. That's tough. Yeah.
Right now, like, there's people, I heard a story the other day, a lady went down to Mexico to get, it was some kind of elective, I want to say, like a breast lift and something else.
Okay.
Cosmetic.
Yeah.
And she's in the hospital and it was pennies on the dollar compared to here.
Yep.
Or in the States.
Yeah.
and so people travel and do these things. And then she went in for these two minor surgeries, and ends up getting like huge breast.
No way.
Yeah. And like a Brazilian butt lift of some sort that was over my head. I don't know, but
oh,
that's asinine. It was an old lady who's, we'll call it like 60 something.
Oh my god, that's
so it
funny.
looks ridiculous now. And
yeah.
I was like, well, what the hell? And they're like, well, you can pay to get it fixed. It wasn't like, again. So now, a whole other can of worms because it's like $100,000 or something in the States to get it repaired.
Yeah, I don't know. Like my dad was telling me because his wife was Colombian, and he was saying that that healthcare is dirt cheap down there, and they do a great job.
Right.
So I don't know. Like
I wonder on some of these communists. Sorry, I don't know if Colombians communists at this point, like what their political system
yeah, I'm
is,
not too sure. Yeah.
Like socialist, communist countries, it seems like people are taken care of a little bit more fair sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
But then also none of them can leave. And
that's another subject for another day. Why do people put socialism and communism together?
I think they start off kind of close-ish.
I guess because government ownership rights or something. That's another story for another day. I want to say
socialism came from communism.
Yeah, probably branched off from it. It was somebody trying to do a safer, kinder, gentler communism.
Like capitalism here. Great, but also not.
Yeah.
Because again, in the healthcare system with pharmaceutical companies making billions.
Well, okay, so you'd have to solve that to do your two-tier medical system.
100%. And like drugs that keep people alive, hypothetically insulin for diabetes, like, or EpiPens that cost pennies to make. I'm exaggerating. I don't know the exact cost.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, a few dollars is what they say, but they charge the health system hundreds of dollars because there's not enough of them.
Yeah,
gouging, and it's insane.
100%. And you got Mark Cuban that did his. He's they hate him.
Yeah,
they hate him so much. We've gotten so far away from taking care of each other, and we've gotten all into profit, money all the time that it's hard for people even to have objectivity about this subject.
Right.
I look at it and I say, yeah, I mean, young Ben here, he has diabetes, and we've talked about it on the podcast, and why does he have to pay such exorbitant rates to get to live?
For sure.
It's insane, right? Like if you go in for open heart surgery right now and they need to put a pacemaker in, you're not paying, although I'm sure it's coming, a subscription fee for your pacemaker to stay on or something, Right. So why does he have to pay for his diabetes shots and stuff? Like you die without those, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
if I went a day without it, I'd probably die.
What? Oh my God.
I'd be in the hospital.
Oh my God. So how does that make sense? That's what I'm saying. I think the whole healthcare system has to start with humanity. What is the humane thing to do? Okay, we know it's humane. If somebody needs something to live, we know the humane thing to do is to provide it, right? If they want Botox, pay for it. Jack that shit up like Bullets and Dave Chappelle. Or is that Dave Chappelle made that joke? No, it's Chris Rock made that joke. You want people to stop shooting each other? Charge $1 million per bullet. And so like if you could supplement the health. There are people that will pay thousands of dollars for Botox, right? $1,000 for fillers, whatever. So jack that shit up and let Ben here live.
But you started off with money is weird. The value we place on things, it doesn't make sense a lot of the times, but like, why even jack it up to $1,000 or whatever it is? Like,
well, because
make basic things should be free, hypothetically, or a right of you living in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And then, sure, if you want these things, the cost of it, like, we limit the price on groceries, hypothetically, or in theory, right? In theory, that's what the government wants to do, and they limit the price on certain things that are necessities.
Yeah.
Why not on medicines and on these things?
Yes. 100%. I don't really understand why things cost what they do. Like if you really think about it, what you pay a lot for, some of the stuff you're paying like an hour's wage for very little.
For sure.
And it's like, how does that make sense to anybody? And then you get into other territory, like what is mental health covered? So what is a therapist considered to be vital? I think it is. But a lot of people wouldn't. A lot of people would call us pussies for even
For sure.
suggesting that.
And it's a fun debate because even with the universal basic income, so UBI, mental health, like all these things. Like,
Are we going into mine now?
Well, I'm just saying, old school people, I feel like a lot of times would be like, well, no, like you talk to me or let's have a beer and like you're good now. Hypothetically, you don't need to talk to somebody like a shrink. That's dumb.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, but again, great value to the world. Every person should talk to somebody.
Agreed. 100%.
Asinine again, the pricing of it, and how can you afford it, right? Like,
Yeah.
when you have an issue, you can't get in because anybody free is going to take you forever, and by then you're going to die because you're going to commit suicide, hypothetically.
Yeah.
So similar to, again, two-tier healthcare, is that what happens, right? Anybody that you can get into tomorrow, you have to pay a ton of money to. So if you can afford it, great. If you cannot afford it, you're screwed.
See, but I do think that the whole value behind making sure they have to do both, I believe it would unclog the system.
Right.
Because right now in Canada, even if you can do both, even if you can afford it, you can't do anything about it.
Right.
So to make it so that as long as it's fair and people that are poor are not dying because somebody's rich enough to be able to afford heart surgery and they're not, I think it'd be okay.
Okay.
And I think it's the government's job, if the system starts getting stressed, to deal with that stress and make sure that that you bring those numbers down. Right? So, maybe actually giving us real health advice instead of pretending like the fucking food pyramid is accurate would be a great start. Maybe telling all these candy manufacturers and everything, we're putting a minimum price on you for like $10 a box of Nerds or something. Like, there's a million things we can do that we don't, or maybe you're just banning these things altogether. There's a lot of ways to unclog the medical system. So I think if they're going to do this two-tier thing, they should do all that stuff together too. Dude, make it illegal to smoke. That should be a no-brainer at this point. This is the biggest clog of our medical system we have, from my understanding, and yet here we are. It causes heart disease, cancer, respiratory illness. Like, it's everything. It can cause your tissue to rot. It can, there's so many things. Jack cigarettes up, $1 million cigarette.
But like obesity is the new killer, right?
Yeah.
So like, again, I agree. Like, let's all go to the gym. Let's all eat healthy. I go to buy fresh veggies the other day.
It's
I spend
ridiculous.
$100 buying fresh stuff for a few days only.
Yeah.
I could go buy crap for a few dollars only.
That would fill your pantry for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. They have to regulate this stuff. They got to say, like, look, McDonald's is nice and convenient, but you got to pay out the ass for that convenience. And guess what McDonald's will do? If you say to McDonald's, we are putting a tax on you for serving shit to our citizens, a Big Mac meal is now going to cost you $75 to deliver to someone. How fast do you think McDonald's starts producing healthy food?
The issue with society, though, would be like, so McDonald's says, okay, fuck you guys, I'm closing then.
Okay, great. Gone. Thanks. See you later.
So many
We'll
people
replace you
lose
with
their
a
jobs. You don't have UBI in stacked yet, so now everybody doesn't have any money.
Every big change we make, two-tier health system, UBI, healthy food mandate, all that, it's all going to come with pain.
Right.
We just have to get through the pain. We have to stop pretending like there's any perfect solution to anything, right? So if you say to McDonald's, we have a $75 tax on every Happy Meal you provide to children because you are poisoning our citizens, and they say, okay, we're out of here. Go. Good. Burger King, get the fuck out of here. Wendy's, go to hell. Subway, you are the worst. You need to get the hell out of here for sure. How many people do you think are going to pop up with healthy options businesses?
Do you think society could do this, though? Do you think if you said to people, just like you said, hey, smoking's killing you, we're banning it. It's illegal.
People will lose their goddamn minds.
100%.
But it will balance out eventually. It'll take a couple generations.
It's a long ass time.
It is a long ass time, but when are we going to start fixing this stuff?
I don't know. Okay, back to your topic.
UBI. Oh my god, I said I was going to be there by 9. It's 9:14. I'm so sorry, Shauna. Everybody, if Shauna broke up with me after this podcast, Baby, I'm sorry. I know I was supposed to be there at 9 and she's making chicken.
We got 10 minutes.
Okay, let's do this. And I'm calling her. I'm going to apologize unrelentlessly. It's the first time I've done this to her, or my work has gotten in the way. So this is going to be an interesting night. UBI.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So, again, in a capitalist country,
Mm-hmm.
I already pay too much in taxes, where I lose almost more than, we'll call it more than 40% of my income.
Yeah, we average about 46%.
And then I gotta pay more taxes when I go buy stuff on my already taxed money that I already
Mhm.
have.
Then you got to pay taxes on
And I gotta
that.
pay taxes on that. And then if I do get ahead a little bit, then I gotta pay taxes on that. Like,
Mhm.
so I'm taxed to death already.
Dead system. Totally horrible.
I'm very lucky that I can afford certain things and I don't have to worry about where my next meal is coming from and so
Yeah.
on and so forth. But how much more are you going to tax me to take care of somebody else?
I don't think you have to tax people more to do UBI.
And I think in the long run, it works out because the theory would be we get people off of some of these other dependent programs, but the money has to come from somewhere to get it going,
So
to get them off. And then how do you...
years ago when I looked at this, it would save us money. Then
Right.
we would spend less on the UBI than we would right now on welfare and all that. And there's no reason to wean people off of it.
Okay.
Zero reason. You find out who you basically you do your census of the entire population. You figure out who's all out there. Yes, there'd be a little bit of a transition here, but you know what happens if you cut people off of welfare and child tax credit and everything? They are going to show up at a government office to figure out what the hell, how do I get my UBI?
Right.
Okay, we have a person signing up for a bank account, UBI bank. Okay, here's your UBI card. You're good to go.
So I don't know enough about the welfare system. Again, luckily, I
Oh,
never had to use
It's
it.
so bad.
Some of the negative thoughts are like people just pump out kids and go on welfare and you don't have to.
That's not a negative thought. People do that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
but I'm sure there's a lot of people that need to be on welfare that
Yeah, of course.
are unable to work or
Yep.
whatever, and it's saved people from being on the streets hypothetically.
Yep.
What's stopping people from on UBI? Again, I don't know the concept completely. So if you're unable to work, because say you're a parent, so that is daycare going to be included in UBI hypothetically? Because daycare is hella expensive. So
Yeah.
we're supposed to do $10 a day daycare. But
Yeah, we're supposed to.
if you
Yeah.
have multiple kids, and that gets expensive also. So
Yeah.
is that also going to be
Well, the
covered?
stipend goes up if you have kids, but it goes up for things that kids need.
Okay.
The problem is a lot of the like, and I saw them in the complexes we used to manage. People were having kids to get more welfare to buy TVs and stuff, and that's why part of it would go into savings for kids later on. So that
Nobody can touch the savings.
correct.
Okay.
The kid is the only one that can determine with a financial advisor what they should do with that savings.
And then, so we're going to shut down welfare. We're going to shut down all these other departments. So then administration would come from all these other places, hypothetically.
Well, you wouldn't need much administration for it. That's the
But,
beautiful
how
part.
do
You can't use the card anywhere that you're not allowed to use the card,
Okay.
and for things that you can't use the card for. So
Sounds almost like food stamps in the States.
it's a little bit, but it's better in that it's covering your needs.
Okay.
Food
What do
stamps.
Food stamps cover?
Food stamps are covering like rotted food for some people. Like people go there and they get it, and it's like vegetables that are no longer allowed to be on a supermarket
Interesting.
table. I mean, it's not in all cases, but
Okay.
there's a lot. And I'm not saying it's a system that can't be exploited, but what I'm saying is that I believe with this system, it's the fairest possible
Right.
system to make sure people don't lose their homes and end up on the street and turn to substances to stay warm. Like I've talked to homeless people out here. Some guys like, I'm addicted to drugs, and I'm only addicted to drugs because I need a way to stay warm at night. And he's like, the only reason why I'm homeless is because I have schizophrenia, and I can't keep a job, and nobody wants to employ me. Even though he's like, I have the problem 2 or 3 times a year. I can't find a job because I got to tell everyone I'm schizophrenic, and they won't employ me. Right? So all that wipes away. Right? And now you've got like, I couldn't even imagine what my life would have been had I known I had a couple years to figure it out, or 10 years to figure it out. Right? Living that basic bitch life, just like having fun, but, getting my needs taken care of, but not worrying about my basics would have allowed, I believe the economy would grow drastically because it allowed people to be like, they'd find their calling. they would start get into that calling, right? They would only go to work for callings, right?
So the thought is behind UBI also, though, one of the problems being inflation. So again, if you're guaranteed your rent is going to be covered, if it's not a government low,
You want to see how fast inflation gets as real and the numbers are smaller? Do UBI.
Think so?
The government would not do massive inflation if they have to cover the spread.
So right, but what'll happen though is then the government has to create more low income housing to support that, or again, if I was a landlord and I don't want someone on UBI to be living in my place, I'm going to raise the rent a bit. So it's going to raise the rent for the middle class people or whatever. Right? That's one of the problems people foresee. The cost of, if you're getting all of a sudden all these services for free that people couldn't get before, now there's going to be more people draining the system, hypothetically.
Maybe.
So again, I'm for UBI.
Yeah.
And like tiny houses in the States where let's get homeless off the street. And
Those villages are awesome. Have you ever been to one?
Nope. But
There's one in Vegas.
reading and looking at it.
It's amazing.
Huh.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So again, like, why don't we try to do some of these things? And
We totally should.
because the drain on society is astronomical in terms of crime. These people are committing crimes to go to jail, so then now we have to house them in jail.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, it's. I honestly believe it's like weed, right? Weed was, everybody was like, oh, you just want drugs legal so you can get high all the time. I'm like, no. Weed is a security issue, a financial issue, a stability. It covers almost all issues. And so that's why I wanted weed legal. That's the only reason why I was Team Justin, right?
so the only other question on UBI before we wrap up,
Mhm.
are you only allowed to be on it for a certain amount of time?
No, you can be on it until the day you die.
Interesting.
Why not? It's better. Look at the way we
Does
treat
that
our seniors
create
and look at the way we treat our seniors and vets now. Like, it's disgusting. I go to see a 97-year-old guy in a home right now. Now, they do a pretty good job. However, it's not what it should be.
No.
Not even close. It's downright depressing. You know, why is he living in a why does a senior's home have to feel like a hospital? I don't understand. Why? Why is it all barren walls and ugly neutral colors and all that stuff? Why can't it feel like a home?
Because home to everyone's going to be different. I guess as basic as we can make that statement.
No, but it like feels like a hospital. It's like it's got the hospital railings in the
'Cause
hallways.
it needs to be though for all these old people.
Not necessarily. I'm just saying you could make it look better.
Right.
You can make it look like it's a home that's functional for a senior,
Right.
not a. I'm not saying put up rainbow colored wallpaper and stuff, but just make it. You walk in, you're like, this is a hospital. It'd be nice to be walking like, oh, this is a nice place for seniors to live.
What I imagine is even people on UBI that are living in low income housing, it's going to be the most basic of a place that's also not going to really feel like a home, but it's going to be better than the street.
You know what it would be like? Did you ever go to my place when I was living in Manitoba Housing on Roblin? I had a little bachelor suite, little bathroom off to the side. You walked in, kitchen and storage, little suite, tiny little suite, bedroom and living room are all together, little bathroom. That's it. That's all it was. That's what you get.
So I have a buddy that has 34 unit low income housing place.
Mhm.
Again, you don't even. I think there's a shared bathroom area that you can use. There's things like that.
Yeah, that's rough. I don't
But
think
again, better than the street.
better in the street. Yeah, and maybe it's a phase.
One other interesting thing on UBI is that there's, I think, a system that would even make it better in my head. Because again, one of the things that I was against was like, again, why can't I just sit at home and do nothing all day and be on UBI? Like, that sounds fun to sit around and do nothing. Like, it creates laziness. Some people would believe.
I don't
And
agree.
like the whole part of our immigrant parents came here, my immigrant parents came here for a better life, hypothetically. So now I don't even have to try for a better life. I can sit at home and do nothing all day. Hear me out for 1 second.
Okay.
So have it as a step up system. So you're going to get the bare basics.
Mhm.
And if you can prove that you're doing your volunteer work, if that's what you're going with, you're keeping a job, you're a good part of society, hypothetically, whatever we use to measure that.
Mm.
Next, you can move up into a little bit of a nicer place, and you get a little bit extra UBI, and you're contributing to society a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm okay
There's a
with that.
step up system.
Graduate society. Yeah,
Yep.
I agree with that.
So something like that.
Sorry.
Just so then, again, if you want to sit at home and smoke weed and do nothing all day, you're barely making it by. Like you're one step above the street, so you don't have to go steal. You don't have to complain about not being warm. But like you're not probably affording a car. You're not probably affording certain things.
Yes. My argument against the whole it'll create lazy society thing is that people aren't built like that. Human nature is not, no, like, listen, hear me out.
Okay.
Every single thing you have right now was not what you wanted 10 years ago. What you had 10 years ago was good enough because you were doing okay. You got a little bit more and you got this nice house that you're living in now, right? Your house now is considerably nicer than your house before. But when you got your house before, you're like, this is a nice house. I'm comfortable here, right? It's like Shauna. Shauna's got this beautiful home. It might as well be a show home. People walk in, they're like, holy shit, this is a nice house. And she wants a different house. People, I think the vast majority of human beings aspire to be better than the position they're in.
That's my only thing. I don't know if it's the vast majority. I don't know what the percentage would be.
I think it's the vast
Because
majority.
again, like we just finished talking about also,
But
the amount of people that sit at home on welfare pumping out kids,
Yeah,
that's also a higher amount.
Yeah. I agree. But where my argument is that when you take desperation out of the picture, people are allowed to think about what it is they could be, and then that helps them aspire. I think a lot of people just are honestly not even, they can't even bring themselves to think about what their life could be if they had more because they can't see the road there, and they're just depressed off their ass, and that causes them to do these stupid things. You know, so that's my belief. I don't know if I'm right.
No, I agree. It'd be interesting to see again that portion of the society that just wants to stay at home and do nothing and pump out kids.
Yeah.
What happens for that? Uh-oh.
I'm getting into shit. Okay. We should end.
Yes, we both agree UBI is a good idea.
Hang on a second. I'm actually going to answer the phone on the podcast. Hello? I'm leaving right now. I'm actually on the podcast talking to you on the phone right now. I'm leaving, like, I'm literally going to get off the phone. I'm going to do the goodbyes in the podcast, and then I'm going to race there, okay? Dinner's ready. See?
He's almost there. He's turning onto your street.
I'm coming right away, okay? I'm sorry, baby. Thanks.
Is that what you call her? Sweet nicknames, baby.
I have tons of nicknames for her. And that's it for...
Hey, that was a great talk.
This was a good talk. And it turned into a two-parter, and it was a lot of fun, and we're going to do this again because I love these conversations. I love when you get me riled up, and we have a good time. So...
Vote for Lievre. And Santa.
First thing we've ever edited out of a podcast is that part. I'm kidding. Share, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I love doing this podcast because it makes me better. I hope it's made you better. It's made you better?
Yes.
Ben, has it made you better?
Heck yeah.
Everybody's better today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great, wonderful week until I see you again with a new one. Later. Welcome to Better, the podcast about doing better, being better, and leaving the world a better place than we found it.